Good evening and thank you for joining us. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law reveals that Hong Kong is poised to see more spectacular New Year's Eve countdown celebrations this year, as the city gears up for the 30th Handover anniversary in 2027. But some previously free activities at the West Kowloon Cultural District may begin charging admission to help improve financial sustainability.
Hong Kong welcomed 4.46 million visitors in the past month, up 9% year-on-year. However, the number of short-haul visitors fell by 6%. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Rosanna Law explains that May to August is traditionally the city's tourism off-season, with reduced flight capacity due to fuel prices among the factors affecting visitor arrivals. She says a packed calendar of major events in the second half of the year would help Hong Kong achieve its target of attracting 53.8 million visitors in 2026.
今年有世界盃嘅決賽週。
Law says international sporting events like the Football World Cup finals could influence travel patterns, noting that tourists may choose to visit World Cup host destinations or stay home to watch matches. She says this year the government will showcase Hong Kong at its most vibrant and colorful to usher in the 30th Handover anniversary next year. While visitor arrivals have increased, Law acknowledges that tourist spending remains below pre-pandemic levels, noting that Hong Kong must rely on creativity to buoy consumption.
故宮文化博物館嘅埃及大展。
She cites the Hong Kong Palace Museum as an example, saying Egyptian antiquities-related merchandise, including the popular pharaoh cat mascot, is expected to generate close to $30 million in revenue. However, the operating deficit at the West Kowloon Cultural District widened to about $770 million in the last financial year. Law says the increase was partly due to investments in new infrastructure projects.
搞藝術咧，全世界嚟講咧。
She says arts and cultural institutions around the world rarely operate without government support, but West Kowloon must rein in its staffing and operating costs. She says the hub may consider charging for select events that have previously been offered free of charge, including some concerts. The government is also mulling plans to introduce market-oriented operations at selected leisure and cultural services department facilities. 9 expressions of interest were received earlier for projects involving Butterfly Beach in Two Moon and Big Wave Bay Beach in the Southern District.
Hong Kong is marking the 29th Handover anniversary tomorrow. A slew of discounts and special offers have been rolled out by the government, restaurant operators, and retailers. Samantha Low reports.
Representatives from the catering sector, including lawmaker Jonathan Leung and catering industry leader Tommy Cheung, visited a restaurant in Taikoo this week ahead of the Handover celebrations. The restaurant sector is launching anniversary promotions for the 4th consecutive year, with more than 3,400 eateries participating on July 1st. Among them is a restaurant offering a 29% discount on the entire bill, allowing customers to dine at 71% of the regular price. Restaurant operators said they had arranged sufficient manpower and hoped the promotions would help boost business. The Hong Kong Retail Management Association has also launched a month-long promotional campaign. A number of government-supported concessions will again be available. In transportation, the MTR Corporation will give away 71,000 local single-journey tickets through its mobile app. From July to August, children aged 11 or below can travel free on the Airport Express, while passengers aged 60 or above and students will enjoy half-price fares. Some ferry operators will hand out free ferry tickets on July 1st, while passengers celebrating their birthday on the day can enjoy free rides. Free rides too from Hong Kong tramways for 3 consecutive days. At the M+ Museum, selected exhibitions will be free to the public, while all special exhibitions at the Hong Kong Palace Museum will offer complimentary admission on July 1st. Samantha Low, TVB News.
Mainland authorities have unveiled the latest approval requirements for mainland residents to settle in Hong Kong and Macau. The State Administration of Entry and Exit announced that, starting July, the approval criteria will be divided into 4 categories. The first category is for reuniting couples and accompanying children. Applicants should have been separated from their spouse or parents in Hong Kong or Macau for at least 3 years. The second category is for underage applicants. The third category involves applicants aged 18 to 59 whose parents aged 60 and above are residing in Hong Kong or Macau and have no children in the SARs. The fourth group involves applicants aged 60 or above whose children are residents in the SARs and at least 18 years of age. They should have no other children in the mainland. At least 6 people were fatally shot during an attack at a mother and child shelter in the northern German city of Stade around midday on Monday. The motive for the crime is presumably a dispute over child custody. 3 suspects, including the alleged shooter, are arrested and remain in custody. Danny Zhou has more.
The deadly shooting took place in a youth welfare facility on Dunkerstrasse, a cobbled street south of the city centre. The facility includes temporary accommodation for pregnant women or young mothers with children. A wide area around the location has been cordoned off with a large police presence. Forensic experts in white suits were working on site. Residents were told to stay away, but police said later on Monday that there was now no danger to the public. Shots were first reported at around 12:10 p.m. local time, according to Stade police. Patrol cars were quick to rush to the crime scene and found several people dead inside the building.
Nachdem das ziemlich schnell gelungen ist,
Lüneburg Police Chief Katrin Schul says officers were initially able to identify 4 deceased. The 5th person died during a resuscitation on site, and another succumbed to severe injuries in the hospital, bringing the total fatalities to 6. She adds all the victims, 4 women and 2 men, are exclusively facility employees. Several others are also injured. A 45-year-old man who was born in Germany and has Turkish roots is suspected to have opened fire. Media reports indicate the man is embroiled in a child custody dispute and had an appointment at the shelter earlier that day. It is understood that his baby daughter and the mother were in the office at the time of the shooting and were unharmed. Local police say they have detained the main suspect, along with the mother and another female, while a probe to ascertain the cause is underway. Mass shootings are rare in Germany, which has some of Europe's strictest gun laws. The Interior Minister of Lower Saxony State, where Stade is located, describes the shooting as an extremely cold-blooded act of violence and stresses it is not believed to be driven by political or economic motives. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump said American negotiators are on their way to Doha, Qatar for a meeting with their Iranian counterparts.
You know, oil prices are way down. We hit $69 today. It was higher than that prior to the denuclearization of Iran fight that we have, which we're doing very well. There'll be a meeting on that tomorrow in Doha. And to go into Qatar, I think they've already left, or they're just about getting ready to leave. So we'll see how that goes. But we're doing very well on that front. But the meeting in Doha is going to be perhaps important, perhaps not. We're going to find out. But we're winning militarily. It's almost won militarily, I would say. And it's really very simple. It's the denuclearization of Iran. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that, in all fairness.
Trump is sending his son-in-law Jared Kushner and his envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiating team, according to his press secretary Caroline Leavitt, while Iran is sending its technical delegation to Qatar this week. The country's foreign ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai said this had no relation to the Americans' visit and no talks between the two sides were scheduled. The U.S. and Iran gave themselves at least 60 days to implement the 14-point memorandum of understanding to extend an April ceasefire, discuss Iran's nuclear program, and negotiate a permanent truce. Welcome back. Fugitive businessman Guo Wengui, who fled to China in 2015, has been sentenced to 30 years in U.S. jail for running a $1 billion scam. The ex-property developer has had close relations with former Donald Trump aide Steve Bannon and pledged to fund protesters of Hong Kong's anti-extradition law amendment bill movement. Danny Zhou has the report.
Guo Wengui, also known by names including Ho Wan Kok and Miles Guo, was arrested in New York City 3 years ago for defrauding thousands of people of over $1 billion. In 2024, the business tycoon, once believed to be among China's richest men, was convicted by the jury on 9 of the 12 criminal charges he faced, including a racketeering conspiracy and wire fraud. The 56-year-old appeared for his sentencing at Manhattan Federal Court on Monday. Judge Annalisa Torres said Guo had preyed on people who seek to bring democracy to China to pay for his lavish lifestyle, and that he takes no responsibility for his actions. Prosecutors had requested Guo serve at least 30 years behind bars because his astonishing fraud from 2018 to 2023 destroyed hundreds of lives and left a wreckage of victims and families. The judge has imposed a forfeiture order on Guo of $889 million in restitution. Guo maintained his innocence, declaring he would appeal the ruling. He had protested his treatment in prison and said he was taken to hospital early Monday. Before his arrest and detention, Guo was sought after by Beijing for bribery and money laundering and settled down in New York City in 2017. He lived in a luxury apartment overlooking Central Park and had joined President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, Florida golf club. Guo also developed close ties to conservative political strategist Steve Bannon, who has repeatedly called for Guo's release. In June 2019, the entrepreneur came to prominence in Hong Kong when he held a live broadcast with Bajio Leung Chonghang, one of the leaders of the protest movement, in which he promised political and financial support for protesters. When asked about Guo's sentencing during today's press conference, the foreign ministry in Beijing has this to say.
Guo Wengui is a fugitive wanted by Interpol Red Notice at the request of the Chinese government. We noted relevant reports.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The hot favorite to be the next British leader, Andy Burnham, pledges to move part of the Prime Minister's office from London to northwest England as part of the biggest rebalancing of power the country has seen. In Manchester on Monday, he said he will give a chunk of his power to local leaders.
So let me state my clear intention as I put myself forward. True to the motto of this city, I am going to do things differently. I am going to break with the more of the same approach that has got us here.
Burnham said Number 10 North will be the nerve center of a rewired Britain. Nicknamed King of the North, Burnham set out a 10-year plan to get good growth in every postcode instead of keeping wealth in London and the south of England. He said he would reverse almost 2 decades of low growth since 2008's financial crisis by harnessing private and public money to invest in areas like transport, housing, and infrastructure. The heat wave continues in Central and Eastern Europe, with record-breaking heat in Serbia, Romania, and Switzerland. The Meteorological Society of Serbia issued a warning for extreme weather and high temperatures, cautioning people to stay at home. Romania is also under red warning for heat, with temperatures surpassing 40 degrees Celsius. Mist dispensers are placed in some parts of the capital to combat heat. And the Swiss have found a solution to hold the National Yodeling Festival, with temperatures up to 39 degrees Celsius in Basel. The singers filled 45 fountains all over the city to practice while cooling down. Outform players say their instruments and costumes are certainly a burden in the strong heat, but the smiles remain. Performers and visitors filled the Marktplatz for the closing ceremony, with the final parade drawing 200,000 visitors. The government's temporary diesel subsidy scheme has come to an end. While international oil prices have eased slightly in recent weeks, the freight sector is urging authorities to consider direct vehicle-based subsidies as a longer-term solution to rising operating costs.
Under the 2-month scheme, the government offered a subsidy for every litre of diesel sold. Fuel stations and distributors factored in the subsidies via discounted pump prices or billing adjustments, with distributors reimbursed for the difference. The scheme expired on Monday night. Global oil prices surged earlier amid tensions in the Middle East, reaching a peak in May before stabilizing and retreating slightly. According to fuel price information published online by the Consumer Council, discounted retail diesel prices offered by major oil companies currently range from around $21 to $32 per liter. Industry representatives say fuel expenses at one point nearly doubled compared with pre-conflict levels. Although prices have since fallen, it's roughly 40% higher than before. A representative from the Lok Ma Chau China Hong Kong Freight Association says the diesel subsidy has helped, but it did not cover the entire transport sector. As cross-boundary trucks, for example, were not eligible because most of them refueled in the mainland during this period. The body calls on the government to consider providing subsidies based on vehicle size. The government says it would continue to monitor developments in the Middle East, as well as fuel supply and price movements, to ensure a stable energy supply for Hong Kong. As for time-limited relief measures, including toll concessions for commercial vehicles and subsidies for liquefied petroleum gas fuel, authorities say further arrangements will be announced in due course.
The Customs and Excise Department has busted several substance smuggling cases over the past 5 months, seizing over 7,700 injection vials with suspected weight loss substances and close to 2 million pharmaceutical products with a combined worth of over $45 million. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Authorities seized a large number of injection vials with suspected weight loss substances, mostly displayed in Japanese. The smuggled items also included cigars with German labels. This, as the Customs and Excise Department noted, has strengthened efforts to tackle the smuggling of substances via air and sea transport. Among the contraband were 2 packages that allegedly contained health food and nutritional products, mailed by air from Japan to Hong Kong. Officers subsequently found more than 2,800 injection vials containing the suspected weight loss substance, with an estimated worth of over $4.5 million. Authorities also seized another 2,900 vials containing beauty substances and over 1.9 million pharmaceutical products on a vessel traveling from the city to Macau. The items have a combined value of over $40 million. Customs said much of the smuggled items required designated permits before they could be exported. It added that usage of them may carry health risks, since many of the products were not stored at correct temperatures. The Customs and Excise Department believes syndicates engaged in the smuggling of the contraband attempted to export the products to another location before selling them. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Ocean Park has rolled out a raft of panda-themed campaigns to celebrate the birthdays of its 6 pandas from June through August. Elena Wang has the details.
Yeah! Ocean Park's panda-themed events and celebrations include performances, photo-taking spots, and the Splash with Panda Friends activity. Apart from June-born giant pandas An An and Ke Ke, which have just turned 7 years old, Ocean Park is celebrating for Ying Ying and Le Le, as well as panda twins Jia Jia and De De, which were all born in August. Ocean Park Chairman Paulo Pong hopes the events can bring joy to both local and international visitors.
They have brought so much happiness to the park, to Hong Kong citywide. And it's gotten the park as well as Hong Kong onto the international stage. And we look forward to the opening of our new exhibit next year, sometime in 2027, to house Jia Jia and De De.
The giant panda twins have grown rapidly over the past 2 years. The park is showing special footage of their life and growth in Hong Kong during the celebration. Meanwhile, Pong says, starting from July 9th, the park will have 3 restaurants allowing pet dogs inside. Visitors with year-round membership can bring their pet dogs into the park 5 days per week, up from the current 2 days. The park says since the opening of the Water World in May, visitor numbers have increased by 10% year-on-year. Elena Wang, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.